And if you're new to the channel, welcome, and hopefully you get a chance to have a look through some of our other content of this channel. And if you do, please hit like and subscribe, helps out immensely. Getting stuck into today's content, it's about our trip where we did fishing for shark with thanks to Michael from Big Rigz. You just saw him come up there, his logo. You'll find him on Facebook, and I'll provide the link at the end. So this is actually Michael setting up for his first bait up. That's an eagle ray. So his first bait, that's the eagle ray there. He's cut it in half on this first one for the first run out with them. And this is him actually attaching half of this eagle ray onto his setup. So in this setup, he's got Demon Circle 16 O's. And you'll see the big ones later, but these are the 16 O's. Across this, you've got a wire 1,650 pound PVC coated stainless steel wire. That's that black stuff that you can see that's going around these hooks. That PVC coating doesn't rip easily, so it's a lot more durable. Now he uses the circle hooks, not J hooks. The circle hooks are designed to be swallowed by the shark, and then when the shark runs off with a tightened line, the hook gets towards the jaw, and the angle causes the hook to set in the corner of the jaw. So unlike J hooks, it doesn't gut hook them. It does it so that it can get in the corner of their mouth, so it can be removed, so they can be released, because that's the primary purpose here. So as you've seen, he's done the two hooks. That actually was a cable tie he's used to cable tie that down in between. So there's a fair bit that goes into attaching the hooks onto the actual eagle ray itself. In fact, he even cable ties it down. Is something I haven't seen before. But it's all to make sure it all stays together, which is important, because even on the following day in the morning, he had a whole eagle ray out, and that was bitten by one big ass shark that left everything but the hooks behind. So that's his, sorry it's a bit jumpy there, but that's his rig set up with the line, and he goes out with the kayak. Here we see him attaching some normal leader to a brick that helps weigh down that eagle ray for where he wants it to be, and what will happen is that that'll snap off in the process of the shark eating the bait, and then the brick falls down to the bottom of the ocean, and it basically ends up creating a bit of an artificial reef. I even mentioned that in a lot of fishing for shark areas, you'll find a lot of these bricks on the bottom of the beach if you use scuba diving, and you'll see that they've created artificial reefs as a result of these sort of systems set up. So that wire leader then attaches to an even stronger, not an even stronger, but then attaches to a standard leader. This one here is his bigger hook. This is the 24O Charlie Brown hook, so that's your big circle hook for your big shark. So as you can see, that one was in my hand. It was absolutely humongous. So this is him taking out in his kayak. He'll take his bait out with him on the kayak, and he'll paddle out to wherever he wants to place it out there in the deep Parshan. Fortunately, at this stage of the day, the swells weren't too bad, so luckily enough it wasn't. As you can see him paddling, he's doing a good job of getting it out there. When it gets choppy, and you'll see it a bit later, when we're doing the actual, when he's catching it, you'll see him see the surf then, and yeah, not easy to paddle that. He's often come out of the kayak as a result of paddling out there or coming back in. He'll get tipped. On the way back in, it's not so much of an issue, but the way out is you don't want to lose his bait and have to then get back in and do this. Anyway, this is at a stage where he's flagged us down to let us know that he can see that there's a shark that's decided to have a crack at the bait. So he knows that they're through his expertise, he can tell that there's a shark that's eating the ray, and he doesn't want to immediately start trying to, as you would a fish, trying to reel it in straight away. He's letting the shark eat the ray, for that same purpose as we mentioned with that hook, so that when once he finishes eating it, the line will get tightened up and the hook will slip out and then catch on the corner of its mouth. So he's waiting for that stage, and then this is what happens. He notices the change, and this is his ability to sense, and this is where the experience comes in, to knowing when it's the time to start the process of fighting the shark and bringing it into the shoreline, and knowing exactly what to do in what time frames, when to apply the pressure, when to leave him some time to run, when to give it some, like this, you can see him giving it a fair bit of effort, and this is sped up, by the way, about 2.5 times, so it does take him a little bit to get it in, even though it's actually kind of it's rather small tiger shark. At first he wasn't 100% certain he had one on there, because it wasn't running as much as it normally would, but in the end turned out to be one. So he'll give it time where he's letting it take some line, and then he'll give it another crack where he'll reel it in. So it's also helps him establish, he has a very good understanding of, based on what he's feeling and the way that the shark is reacting, as to what size shark he has on him as well. At this point you can also see there's a little stake behind him, and he's actually been attached to that by a little clip. In this case it's a little shark, so it wouldn't be really that required, but it's there as a safety precaution, because as he's mentioned before, with the bigger ones, he's been pulled right into the ocean. His mates tried to help pull him or hold him so they can pull him back up onto the surface. So he does get some really big ones, so that is a safety anchor that he's locked into there. This one's not really needed, but it's more as just a safety precaution to make sure you just don't go flying off, and neither do you want to go flying off and lose the chance of losing your gear, because it's very expensive stuff that he has. And all the gear that I've mentioned and all the stuff you saw in the video, if you visit him at the Facebook channel, which is at the end, at Big Rigz, or even if you just look on Facebook for Big Rigz, you will find his Facebook site that where he specialises in his shark gear. So he imports a lot of that stuff which isn't available locally. So that sort of stuff, you give him a message and he will be happily to help you out with sorting out getting the required equipment, and also answering all your questions about what you need and how to go about fishing for sharks and all that sort of stuff. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to that sort of information, and he's very helpful with the fact that he's happy to explain things and talk to you about the whole process. So he actually fishes for these to then tag and release. So it's done later on, you'll see it being done, but he fills in it gets a card with a little tag that's attached to it, so he'll put that on the shark, and then the information and the cards filled in and sent back into actually New South Wales fisheries, because they monitor all the sharks all around Australia. So if that shark's caught again, they've got the tag with the serial number on it, so they can report back where it is and all the information that's changed between the first time the tag's put on and subsequent catches. So he's getting this in closer to the shoreline at the moment, and he's working it to make sure at some stages, I think he even mentioned he thought he might even had a tail wrap, because he wasn't sure if he was just pulling in the bait with the brick still attached, but it actually was a shark in the end. Just wasn't behaving as he would normally expect it to be. So yeah, and you can actually get a sense for the surf coming in at the moment. You see it's really picked up, which made it very difficult to get further baits out on a kayak later. So this is it. As we get really close in, she's just off the breakers, and at some stages you can actually see its tail coming in. They've got the tail rope set up to the side there that he will take over. I end up hanging on to the rod for a second for him while he goes over and does the tail roping section, so he can secure the shark. You can actually see it just there in the picture, just on the right bottom hand screen. You can sort of see its little tail just there. A little bit more visual around about right now as it comes in. Yeah, there you go. You can probably see it just there. So that's the tail rope section that gets done. So I'll hang on. You can see it flapping right there. So I hang on to the rod and Michael can go over and do what he needs to do. Unfortunately, the camera's getting blocked at the section, but I'll move out the way in a second. So you tail rope it and bring it out to the area where he can do what he needs to do, which is to unhook the hooks from the corner of its mouth, and he needs to do it so it's safely done. So he'll sit it in that position and open up its jaws and use the tools to get the hooks free with hopefully minimal distress and damage to the shark. And that's why they use the circle ones, not the J ones, which can end up gut hooking them and causing the shark to have severe damage or injury. So that's as easy as it was to get rid of the hooks. And now what he's going to do is he does a quick measurement to check how it is, because this is part of the information we're going to fill in for his card that gets sent to the New South Wales Fisheries. So measure it up. Next steps, this is all pretty quickly done. This is in real time at the moment now, so you can tell that doesn't take him long to do all this sort of process. Unfortunately, the camera does get blocked a few times, but we do have some pictures coming up so you can see some of the details. So he'll use this pole to attach there's a little bit on the end that uses to attach the little tag. It's a yellow tag, you'll see it momentarily. That gets placed on, and then he'll release the shark back into the ocean. So he takes it back in momentarily here because it was washing up, and the shark was getting water going through its gills, but at that stage it had stopped coming up as high, so he had to get it down into the water to keep it so that it was going to survive and not have any issues or distress too much. So that's him releasing the shark and letting it go back out into the sea and to continue its life's journey. This is all done through, you'd want to make sure you're doing it all correctly. So that's why having someone with that expertise is great to have on there as someone that you can ask for that sort of information. So not only does he get your gear, but he can also help out with some information. So that's why I look him up. So that's the little tiger shark there. That's before he's got his tag on him. Not one of the biggest ones. He's got a lot bigger. I've seen some of the ones he's pulled up, some massive stuff. This is the pole that's used to, you can just see that yellow tag that gets poked into the side there, and that just sits in there. It doesn't cause any damage or hurt the shark. It just sits there. It's not a GPS or anything, it's just a recorded serial number that gets processed so that when it's caught again it can be utilised that way. So that's just him releasing the shark. So hopefully this has been it was an amazing experience for us to watch and to see how it's all done, how he actually goes through the process of setting it all up, and how he goes through the process of actually doing all of this. It was quite more involved than I thought it was, and how much effort it goes into, and some of those bigger ones are much harder. So here you can see that's the link to his Facebook up the top there. You can always pause and check on that. Otherwise, look him up. But thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next video. Cheers, guys.